who's going to take over from here. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Terry. And just to say, first of all, what a fantastic session. As a former apprentice myself, it's absolutely wonderful to see the commitment from the companies such as Anglian and all across the board and the wonderful work that's been done. And to reiterate what Terry said, if those 200 apprentices want to become Tech CIWEM, let me know. Okay, so I'm pleased to tell you that this last session today will be live streamed to a global audience. So first of all, hello and a very warm welcome to everybody tuning in. I'm Matthew Jack, CIWEM's Junior President. For those who have joined this morning's discussions in Telford, some very strong themes have shone through. Most notably, the worry that we are going to lose Megan Barnes to the chat show industry in the very near future. She did an absolutely fantastic job, and I'm sure you all agree. So in terms of the other themes, firstly, climate skills need to be an integral part of our young people's education from an early age. And secondly, we need to think creatively and beyond our traditional career paths if we are to fill the skills gap in environmental management. On that note, it is with great pleasure I would like to introduce Baroness Barron, MBE, Parliamentary Undersecretary of State and Minister for the School System and Department of Education. While the Baroness delivers her speech, please could our in-person audience continue to submit questions via the app. We are a little bit pushed for time, but we may have time for one or two questions at the end. So Baroness, I'd now like to welcome you to the stage.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks so much, and it's lovely to be with you all. Before I took this job, I spoke to a colleague and they said there are 2 jobs in government which every family in the country cares about. One is if you're in the Department of Health, and the other is if you're in the Department of Education. And that's why it's such a privilege to have responsibility for many of our schools in this country, but also for our sustainability agenda within government, which unquestionably all of us care about deeply. I'll try in the next few minutes and set out a little bit about what we're doing, particularly in partnership with the Environment Agency as we work out our priorities to address climate change and make our school estate and our education estate more resilient. And the education sector has a really big part to play in responding positively to climate change, not only in this country, but as many of you will know, at COP26 there was, for the first time, a day dedicated to education, with education ministers from all around the world coming together and talking about the challenges of climate change and how we can respond to that. But actually, just in physical terms, schools and universities represent about 36% of public sector buildings, so that's a lot. I'm told if you squeezed them all together, it would be about the size of Birmingham, which, given that we're in Telford, you all instantly know how big that is. So it is really important that we think about how we adapt those buildings, how we work when we're designing new buildings to make sure that we respond to climate change and keep emissions to an absolute minimum. So we set out our sustainability and climate change strategy. One of the things that I think was really important in that was we had the most amazing youth advisory board who helped us put that strategy together. So we all talk about co-creation, but this genuinely was an example of co-creation, and they added an enormous amount of value to that. We set out in the strategy 4 key strategic aims. The first was excellence in education and skills for the world that is changing before our eyes. The second was net zero. Third was resilience to climate change. And the fourth was a better environment for future generations. And each of those outcomes then maps back to each of our educational settings. So whether that's the youngest children in early years, in schools, in further education colleges, higher education, and indeed for children within the social care system. So we've tried to kind of have those as a golden thread running through the education system. And two of the things that were examples of ideas that came out in working with our youth panel was creating a national education park, which some of you may have read about, and also a new Climate Leaders Award, which we hope will really both raise awareness among young people about the range and sadly the decline of biodiversity in this country, but also give them the skills which will inspire and equip them for jobs in a range of industries with an environmental focus. We also have worked closely with Sir James Bevan at the Environment Agency and agreed some areas of common interest around flood resilience, and we're working on those together, as well as environmental education and some other elements. I have to say I was pretty shocked, even though it's my job, I'm ashamed to say I didn't know it, that half of the schools in this country, over 10,000 schools, are at risk of flooding. So it is a massive issue for us, and as you will all know much better than I, that number is expected to increase quite substantially over the next 30 years. And flooding not only damages the fabric of the school, but is hugely disruptive to children's education. So it really is a priority for us to try and address it. So in our school water strategy, we're looking at two things really. One is to try and reduce the flood risk profile within schools, and the second is to reduce water usage at all our schools, so to raise awareness about how much water is used and then focus on reducing it. So we are doing some practical things to try and do this, address these issues. One is through property flood resilience, where we're installing flood doors, for example, to try and prevent water ingress at key access points. We're looking at sustainable urban drainage systems to remove surface water and redirect into green infrastructure such as planters and tree pits. We're funding a number of water efficiency pilots where we're auditing and then helping schools to stop wastage and save money in relation to their water usage. And we're hoping to pilot that in up to 400 schools this year, and that will then inform the decisions that we take in the coming 5 years. If we look specifically at what we're doing with the Environment Agency, we're working to how we can best improve learning and improve awareness of risk and resilience in all education settings. And for those schools which are at the highest risk, we're planning to share a template for a flood risk plan, which will help them develop emergency plans in the event that they are flooded. We're delivering funding to drive initiatives to reduce schools' risk profile, and we've contributed about £16 million to over 50 Environment Agency flood and coastal schemes since 2019, and we're working with about 100 schools and rising across England. We hope that we will have supported all education settings to have climate action plans in place by 2025, and we're using as much data as we can to help inform the action that schools, universities and others take to improve their carbon literacy and to help inform us on what they need to address decarbonisation and more nature-based solutions to relieve flood risk and protect them against increased heat and, of course, air quality. We've got lots of partners at DFE. We absolutely don't think that we can do this on our own. We're working closely, as I said, with the Environment Agency, but also with Natural England, with lead local flood authorities, the water companies, dioceses, and many more. And we really hope that that will lead, that collaborative working will lead to answers that work both locally but can also be scaled nationally. In terms of educational materials, at the risk of stating the obvious, we know that children and young people are rightly extremely concerned about climate change. They want to understand it more. They want to understand the impact that is likely to have on their lives and their children's lives. And we really hope that we can help to harness the passion, I think that's not too strong a word, of so many. We have 16 million children and adults in education across the country, almost 9 million in our schools, that we can harness some of their energy to make sure that we can work together in this next crucial decade for our planet. And it is, as I said at the beginning, it is such a privilege to work with children and young people on this. We're trying to embed educational awareness across the curriculum, and particularly working with those schools who've experienced flood damage to help them really understand and have a sense of agency in addressing that for the future. We will be encouraging all schools to sign up for flood warnings, and for those at highest risk, we're going to make sure that we'll be sharing flood plans and giving them as much support as possible. I've tried to touch on some of the main areas of focus in terms of flood resilience. I suppose I'd just like to finish with a kind of request for your help as we go forward. All of us in this room are working incredibly hard to address the issues that are so pressing in relation to flood resilience. I think there's a big job that we all need to be part of to try and communicate those career opportunities, educational choices that young people might want to consider. We heard very eloquently earlier, I think perhaps you're in the audience there, about the importance of how job adverts are framed to encourage young women to apply in particular. But there's almost not a school visit I don't go on where I'm talking to one of the pupils and they talk about their desire to take on technical qualifications, but they're not really so confident about which way to turn. Many of you will be aware we've introduced T-levels, the majority of which are focused on careers that could be relevant in this area of flood resilience. But I think we all need to be part of trying to raise the profile, which is why conferences like this are so important, of just the amazing opportunities, both in career terms, but also in terms of mission that are available to young people as they are in school, worried about their futures. I think we can send them a message of hope and opportunity, and I hope very much that you will help us with that, because it's a big job to reach them all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Baroness.
Pleasure.
We do have about 5 minutes for questions, so
Very
if you wouldn't
good.
mind joining me. And I'd also like to invite up Mark Garrett, who is Deputy Director at the Environment Agency, to join us for this session. Thank you. So we may only have time for 1 or 2 questions, but do we have any on the app? So thumbs up, so that was promising. So from Jack Dudman, for schools at risk of flooding, can this be taken as an opportunity to educate children about the dangers of flooding and get them involved in flood planning and adaptation for their individual schools? Who would like to come in first?
Well, I'm happy to kick off. I mean, I think the short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is that we've been working together with a couple of universities building curriculum content for Key Stage 3 and 4, so in secondary school, so that children can really understand better and link this in particularly with obviously the geography curriculum. But I think we need a range of materials that are really engaging for children, but I think there's some fantastic work going on. I don't know if many of you played on the Rivercraft game. I was almost late to speak to you because I was having such, well actually I was so bad at it, but because I couldn't make the mouse work. But you know, those sorts of things, so that we think about engaging children in lots of different ways, because you know, one of my reflections on all of this, particularly from a career point of view, is that so many of us follow careers that people we know have done, whether it's family, friends, or our peers, and actually so many of the jobs in this area won't have existed, certainly in my generation. So making sure that young people feel confident, understand the issues, and then see that they can have a part in addressing them. I think that's a really exciting opportunity.
And would you like to come in, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, is the short answer. And I think it's actually essential because the Lancet did a study of 10,000 children worldwide, and they found that the top mental health issue affecting young people was climate anxiety. So the ability to turn the danger and the risk into something that's really positive and empowering, you know, relies on us being able to, you know, take that knowledge and learning to children and help them to understand the risk and some of the practical things that they can do to understand that risk and what they can do to take action themselves. So that ability to not only receive the right education, the knowledge, the skills, but also then to be able to translate that into sort of practical and meaningful action is really empowering. And then we change that anxiety into agency, which I think is exactly what we need to do. And the ability to just not learn within the classroom, but also to think initiatives like the Nature Park and the Climate Leaders Award to actually go out and then apply it is really exciting.
That's absolutely wonderful, and for those that were here this morning, I did joke about Rivercraft, but I think it's a fantastic tool.
I bet you were better at it than me. I finally, with about 3 people helping me, managed to put in the glass.
Well, I've got a nephew, so I may have more experience, but just tools like that I think are fantastic, and I've got a little girl now, and there's programmes on TV that are aimed at toddlers, such as Octonauts, which actually really do get in at the very, very beginning to talk about the dangers that we're facing. We probably do have time for one more question. Does anybody from the room want to take one, or should we take one from the app? Well, the lack of hands there says I hope that there's a second one on the app. We expect a lot from our schools. Sorry, this is from Anonymous. We expect a lot from our schools and teachers. Are they sufficiently supported to showcase and teach about flood and climate resilience?
So I think that's, you know, a very fair question. And I mean, first of all, we do expect a lot from our schools and our teachers, and they, you know, at the risk of stating the obvious, have done an absolutely superhuman job over the pandemic in particular, and continue to do so. And, you know, I think all of us in this room are incredibly grateful to them for that. I think the point about resources, certainly talking to the young people's panel that I mentioned earlier, the sense that they brought back, so we had the panel, but they also linked in to their kind of networks. So it was broader than the individuals. Their strong sense was that teachers often don't feel confident on some of these issues. So I think it's a really fair challenge that we should make sure that not just do we have great resources, but actually the way that they're introduced and the way that teachers are supported. So I know that, for example, in some schools there's a kind of climate champion among teachers, and they can help then give confidence to their colleagues around these issues. But I can see it could be challenging for teachers, particularly dealing with a subject that their students care so strongly about.
Wonderful, yeah, and my nephew is the climate champion for his class.
There we go.
Anything to add, Mark?
Just really quickly, I think it is a fair point, but the Minister mentioned about partnerships, so I think we do all have a role to play. So in the Environment Agency, we've got 200 STEM ambassadors who actively go out into schools to support teachers and to help engage children around STEM subjects. And there's absolutely a direct correlation in terms of where that happens, that people are more engaged in what STEM subjects can offer in terms of the skills, the career pathways. And so we want to do more of that, and we've all got a role to play in terms of reaching out into schools and supporting teachers and school children have that ability to learn and access their local environments.
Brilliant, thank you. So I really am sorry, but we've run out of time for any further questions. But I'd like to take the opportunity to thank both of you, Baroness, for your insightful speech, and both of you for your comments in this, albeit brief, question and answer session. So I would just like to take the opportunity to thank the organisers for inviting me here today. Personally, it's been an absolutely wonderful experience. But Mark, me and you are now to leave the stage. Baroness, if you wouldn't mind remaining here, and I'll hand over to CIWEM's Chief Executive, Terry Fuller, for the UK Junior Water Prize.
Thank you very much, Matthew, and thank you, Baroness, for joining us this morning. So the Stockholm Junior Water Prize, I'll just tell you what it is in the briefest of terms. It's run by the Stockholm International Water Institute, CIWEM, and it's been going since 1997, and it's a global competition. And of recent years, there have been 38 entries, 38 different countries around the world enter this competition. CIWEM runs the UK final, effectively. So we select the finalists from the whole of the UK, and that finalist then goes over to Stockholm and enjoys a fantastic week in Stockholm, a week of presentations and lectures and field visits and just a chance to network. You talked about harnessing energy, Baroness, and this competition harnesses that energy, and it makes it the most joyous thing that we do, really. It is absolutely fantastic. It's aimed at individuals from 15 to 20 years of age, either individual or working in combination as teams. And its purpose is to bring innovation in water to the fore. And the beauty of it is that the young people that bring these ideas forward, they're unencumbered. They don't have preconceptions. They look at our world and they think, okay, let's do something about that. We had some fantastic entries this year. Not all of them culminated in a project that actually was a solution. Some, I suppose you might say, failed, although I don't really like that term, because all of them proved something, and all of them have got the opportunity to go forward and become something else. So you're going to hear shortly from the Baroness who our runner-up and winner is this year. As I say, the winner goes to Stockholm, but the runners-up, we are really keen to work with those individuals of those schools to develop those projects further, because it's a very short space of time that they have to actually do the project, and none of us would get that entirely right in that space of time. But I would just finish on this, and this, you know, this might sound like the sort of thing that people say, okay, but I can absolutely tell you, and with evidence as well, that the young people that come forward in these competitions are, and will change our world. There's no doubt about it, and there is plenty of evidence of that when you look at the past winners. So it's a fantastic thing. Please help us get behind it. If you're associated with a school at all and can help work within that school to develop projects, please come and talk to us, because we would love to hear from you. Okay. So without further ado, Baroness, please, if you come to the podium. Thank you.
Well, this is obviously the highlight. I'd really echo what you say. I hope everybody who has taken part in this competition feels a sense of pride in, having had a crack, and that it's given them and inspired them to take things forward. But turning to the winners, we're going to start with the runner-up, and I'm delighted to announce that Rain Chatterjee from Lady Eleanor Holly's school has been named as the runner-up for the 2022 UK Junior Water Prize competition. Many congratulations, well done. I'm just going to say a tiny bit about your project, and then if you want to, you can say something or not if you'd rather not. However, should you want to come and stand over? So just to tell you a little bit, I'm just going to keep Rain waiting for her prize. So just a little bit about her project. So your paper was on a smart greywater recycling system, and looked at affordable and ways to potentially prevent enormous volumes of water from ending up in sewage, while also lowering CO2 and CH4. So incredibly important. And here's a wonderful trophy, and many, many congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to say thank you?
I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, lovely.
Hi everyone. I think I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It really helped me bring my project forward and further. Greywater is something that we can all recycle and implement in our homes. So I really hope that this project can go further, and thank you.
So, turning to the winning paper this year, the winning paper is titled Investigating Optimum Conditions to Obtain Potable Water Through Piezoelectricity in Fluvial Systems. Is it potable or is it potable? Can someone help me? Anyway, drinkable water. And it explores the construction of a water treatment system that uses piezoelectric materials to convert mechanical force into electrical energy. And just from that, I think we can see that great work has gone on. The authors of this paper are Yuchuan Zhou and Jason Cho, who are both in Year 11 at the Kingston Academy. So Yuchuan and Jason, many, many congratulations for winning the 2022 UK Junior Water Prize.
Hello, my name is Jason Cho. We were thrilled to receive such fortunate news regarding the UK Junior Water Prize. As much as we would have loved to meet everyone here, unfortunately our GCSEs happened on the same day and we couldn't attend. Our journey began after a school debate about whether COP26 was a failure. We realized that rather than just debating about what our world leaders are doing, we should be partaking in helping the environment.
Water pollution and contamination is one of the biggest challenges the world faces right now. As part of the school ecosystem, we really want to help to contribute to solve some of the world's environmental and socio-economic issues. Our initiative includes the investigation of a water treatment system using piezoelectric materials, which are materials that can convert mechanical force into electrical energy. After having modeled and investigated different types of design, we reached the conclusion that the most efficient way to generate power is to use the formation of water droplets. The water droplet would hit the piezoelectric materials and generate a comparatively high power and voltage.
After having done further research about the physics that govern water droplet formation, we realized further potentials of our designs such as controllability and reliability. We also realized that water droplet systems can be used in various scales and locations, such as rooftops and sewage systems. For our further research, we will be making a piezoelectric water treatment system, as well as investigating further factors that impact electricity production. We really want to thank our school, the Kingston Academy, as well as Ms. Kavanagh, Mr. Collins, Dr. Gopi, as well as the UK Junior Water Team Prize team and the judges for their support and feedback.
We're really grateful for being chosen as a winner of the UK Junior Water Prize, and we are really excited in participating in the wonderful event at Stockholm and share our passion at an international stage. Thank you.
Oh. Well, that was pretty awesome, wasn't it? And to be able to explain to us exactly what they meant in ways that most of us could understand, maybe they will go far. And just to repeat, they will be representing the UK in the Stockholm Junior Water Prize competition. There'll be competitors from over 40 countries, and there's a cash prize of $15,000. And the Academy will also be rewarded with a cash prize of £1,000 for further development of their STEM department. So really exciting stuff. So many congratulations to them. Thank you all so much. Thanks.
Thank you ever so much, Baroness. I'm now going to be joined on the stage by Caroline Douglas, and we are going to attempt to sum up what has been a packed 2.5 days and send you all on your way, hopefully with us bringing your step. So, Caroline, over to you.
Thanks, Terry. So most of you know over the last 3 days my voice has struggled. It's made it, so it's really great that I've got to the end of the 3 days. So thank you all for coming, and what a fantastic 3 days it's been. I've had a great time. So I just want to spend a little bit of time reflecting on what we've seen and what we've heard. We started with the fantastic flood and coastal erosion risk management strategy, and that strategy sets such an ambition for us all who are working in this area. You know, a nation ready for and resilient to flooding and coastal change today, tomorrow and out to 2100. And I have memorised it. Minister Powell launched the roadmap for that strategy and really did set the stage for tangible actions and outcomes for the next 5 years for ourselves and our partners and those of us who are working in the field. And Sir James Bevan then said, the time for action is now. So together with the roadmap, and basically saying the time for action, we have a call to action. So all of us working in this field, in this area, as part of the flood family, which I've heard many a time, we have been issued with a call to action. So over the next day and yesterday, we had a huge focus on adaptation and resilience on the coast and in other areas. There were lots of solutions and lots of planning. The key is to have the right skills and lots of innovation, and we heard more of that today. It was inspiring to hear our international speakers and their messages around living with water and renewing our relationship with nature. Thank you to all our international guests for travelling to join us and sharing your wisdom with us. And I also have to mention the terrific Women in FCERM session on Tuesday, which I was delighted to be a part of. And I know the team was absolutely thrilled by the turnout that was there. And I can't forget either, all the exhibitors, so much innovation and expertise and willingness to share. Thank you to everyone who has contributed, the staff, the stands, to being there to be able to share your knowledge, have a chat. And I do have to give a special mention to Kia because of the barista that they provided. I think we have all benefited from that, so thank you. And all of that was topped off with a fantastic Flood and Coastal Awards dinner last night and the UK Water Prize today. Fantastic congratulations to all our winners, and we really need to make the most of what they've done and what they've achieved and what they will go on to do in the future. So I'd like to leave you with a few messages. We have a great flood strategy. It has given us a huge ambition, as I've said, but we need to do more. We are doing a lot, as we saw with the awards, as we see today, but we need to keep going. And with climate change and environmental challenges that we face, the time for action is now. So let's get going and really make a difference. I'm sure we can all do it if we work together. Terry.
Thank you very much, Caroline. It's my pleasure and also a somewhat humbling task to say thank you to all of the people that have made this possible. And it's quite a big list, so you need to brace yourself, but it's really important that we just take a little bit of a moment here to know who these people are and to thank them properly. First of all, our sponsors, and especially our gold sponsors, Atkins, Jacobs and Van Ord, but also our silver and bronze sponsors as well. Thank you ever so much for enabling this to happen, but also for sticking with us, because you were our sponsors when we were planning to do this event in 2020. And there was a moment within 2020 where it looked, from a financial point of view, as being quite an existential problem for CIWEM, which we managed to get through. And part of the reason, a big part of the reason why we were able to get through that, was because our sponsors stayed with us and allowed us to hold on to the funds that they paid us and carry it over to now. And it made a massive difference. So thank you to all of you, not only for your support now, but for that support over time. And similarly with our exhibitors as well, all 73 of them, staggering figure. In fact, 74 if you count, and we should definitely count, Mary's floodmobile outside. And if you haven't been to it, please go and see it. And she probably needs some help mopping it out, because that was the first job she did when she arrived. I suspect it needs doing again now, so please do go and check that out still. And also to everyone in the Innovation Hub. It really was a hub, and it really was, you know, the innovation was palpable in there. So fantastic to see that. I hope we can repeat that again in future years. As speakers and chairs, you've been tremendous. We've had such high quality sessions. We set that ambition and we've managed to achieve that thanks to others, which I'll perhaps come on to in a moment. But to all of our speakers and chairs, thank you very much. Everyone that facilitated workshops and round tables. Nicholas, our president, thank you. You've been immense. Really enjoyed getting to know you a bit better actually over the last couple of days. And I'm sure you've got a career being a mayor of Telford if you want it. And also to our urban drainage group and our rivers and coastal group as well. Our urban drainage group ran their conference, or our conference I should say, here yesterday, a conference within a conference, and it went extremely well. So I'm very glad and grateful to you for adding that really important content into this few days. Now, our advisory committee, massive thanks to you. I talked about the quality of the sessions. It comes from many, many months of work over the last several months, whereby we assemble the great and the good from industry to come together and to advise us on what the contemporary issues are and how best to go about making the themes for the conference, etc. And then all importantly, helping us to select the papers and the speakers. Hugely oversubscribed, which is a fantastic problem to have. And it is a problem because every single submission was worthy of feature. And we just obviously can't do that unless we make this a 6-day conference. I'm going to have a word with Rebecca about that later. But thank you very much to you. Now, to the staff as well. Actually, yes, and that's not the right word, is it? These are colleagues and team members and friends, actually, in a lot of cases as well. The Flood and Coast team from the Environment Agency. That's Ben Plummer, Charlotte Danvers, who's here, I think, somewhere. Yeah. Natalie Fortune, Sarah Denton, Sophie Dangerfield, Garima Gupta, who actually created the Innovation Hub, and also Mike Jones, Kylie Russell, and Sharon Pearson, who provided additional support in the last few weeks. And boy, what a last few weeks it's been, hasn't it? So thank you ever so much to all of you. Perhaps we just show appreciation. And then my lovely team from CIWEM. I can't really talk about them, I'm getting quite emotional actually, but they've just been incredible. And you think all the obstacles that have come our way, whether it's pandemics or rail strikes or whatever else, goodness knows what's next, but anyway, they just take it in their stride and power through. So Rebecca Sells, Irina Danilova, Olga Nielsen, Jane Boland, Elroy Marquez, and recently joined by Diana Hunt and Natalia Jerkin as well. So thank you ever so much, the bottom of my heart, to you for making this happen. Brilliant. And then we are a small and mighty team at CIWEM, and the Environment Agency is also, got day jobs and things to do as well, believe it or not. And many staff and volunteers have, from both of our organisations, have pressed pause on their day jobs and travelled to Telford to jump in and help in everything, from stuffing delegate bags, I have never seen so many delegate bags, manning the registration booths, managing the app Q&A, and so much more. Thank you very much to all of you. We just could not have done it without you. And I think we should really make a big acknowledgement as well to the venue here at Telford and all of the suppliers we have. They've been a joy to work with and super accommodating. At the dinner last night, we overran a little bit and we could have quite easily, we were facing the prospect of having to say, you've all got to go home now, when you clearly weren't ready to go. And they extended the evening for us. People stayed on at their own inconvenience. They did that willingly. So massive thanks to them. To Ian Chinnock from the Neos Creative, our stand designer. Gareth and the Stagecraft team who have built our exhibitions and staging and run our AV so seamlessly. Thank you very much. I've done a bit of AV in my past existence, and I know how terrible it can be if you don't get it right. And this has been superb, crystal clear, everything's worked. Thank you very much. To Stuart Riddle, who's our lead photographer as well. I guess you're here somewhere, Stuart. Hopefully still clicking the button. All in the Loop and our registration and app provider. I think the app's been a really good innovation actually for this year, and we'll keep that going. Andy Taylor, who's the producer of our podcast Planet Possible. Please check out Planet Possible. It's brilliant, okay? Go into your usual pod app and provider and just check it all out. And also the wonderful Nikki Roach and wonderful Alistair Chisholm, who've led the 2 episodes which we've recorded here. They're a joy to listen to. They're knowledgeable, insightful, inspiring. So please do check out that podcast. And then finally, thank you to the audience, for being here, for supporting us, for listening and contributing and questioning. This event is definitely for you, no doubt about that. So we want to know how you found it, warts and all, and I know there'll be some warts, so let's hear about them. So please give us your feedback, because we are committed to make this even better next year. And get your diaries out now, because next year's event will take place here between the 6th and 8th of June 2023. Just 7 years away from net zero time. So do please join us for lunch, won't you? And the exhibition hall still remains open until 2:30. So that's my thank yous. In fact, let's just give one more big round of applause to all of the above, please. And I want to just leave you with one thought. The one thing that is my sort of takeaway from here is that this conference has been different to the many, many conferences like this that I've been to over the last 30 plus years. The dialogue has moved on. Yes, we are still talking about the immense challenges and problems that lie ahead of us. Of course, we have to do that. We have to be realistic and acknowledge that. But what's different is we are carving through that. We're punching holes through that sort of landscape of problems and seeing what lies out behind the other side. And we're talking about what lies behind it on the other side, the solutions, the fantastic resilient nation that we can build. And that is the conversations we need to start having now with communities and the people around us. Let's get really excited by what lies beyond the problems that we see in front of us. And I will just leave you really where we started and just encourage you all, please, to go out there now and create some wow. Thank you very much.